Well, Honorable, you did talk about the fact that your committee also found that the president's signature was forged in transmitting crude to China. Have you brought that to the attention of the relevant authorities, or what is the committee doing about that?
Well, thank you very much. I think that was, brought to National Assembly, and I think when I moved that motion, it was part of my issue, the issue that I raised. And I tell you the truth, the AGF, who is also aware, and he's working day and night to also do what is needed to get it right, because he is the custodian of the law in our nation. So, National Assembly, we must do our part as well. Doing our part doesn't mean that Nigerians should be kept outside. So Nigeria must know exactly what is happening, what is going on, what has happened to their money. The money that belongs to this nation belongs to you, belongs to me. So I'm saying, I must tell you, the corruption in this country, it didn't just start yesterday. It is a cancer. And to cure cancer, you're going to need a radical approach. And getting a radical approach, you probably have to step on people's toes. You might offend someone. You might offend those that are probably close to you. Your friends, your relatives might be part of it. You don't know. But what is important is the ability to have that willingness, having the willingness, the commitment. That is why I have often said, you must be committed. You must adhere to the three principal tenets of political doctrine. That is loyalty, participation, and commitment to your dear nation. So, this is not something that is new. As a matter of fact, this is a copy of the letter. A copy of the letter that was, that was forged to defraud Nigeria. This letter here, this is not President Buhari's signature, but it was forged by your people, our people, by Nigerians. Wanted to sell the crude in China, over 19 million crude. That is burning light, as a matter of fact. So what are we talking about? So, my dear Nigerians, this time I want you to support National Assembly. When people want to divert attention, they push all negative, all issue that does not belong to us. We don't award contract for God's sake. Yes, we were elected to represent our people. That is our constitutional right, to be responsible, to be accountable to our people. But you see today, people begin to castigate National Assembly. Why is that done? Because they don't want us to be focused. By the time they begin to do all this, pushing negative issue to National Assembly, try to divert attention.
Honorable Agbonaima, just while we still wait for the outcome of who indeed forged that the signature of Mr. President, let me bring you up to speed with the narrative now, is that there seems to be more corruption happening in the system now, but what the government is doing is going after monies that have already been stolen from the system. How do you respond to that kind of narrative when you're not looking inwards in your fight against corruption, leaving other successive governments to have to do the same thing, fighting corruption forever?
Look, first of all, let's give credit to Mr. President and the war against corruption. I must be sincere. I'm in support of Mr. President's effort in the war, in the fight against corruption. Well, if you're talking about the economic side of it, or you're talking about the NNPC, or you're talking about the central bank governor policy, yes, I disagree with the policy that the central bank governor that have brought to Nigeria, that have killed Nigeria, that have killed industry, that today, businessmen and women are relocating to neighboring countries, even African countries, where Nigerians go to African countries today to use Naira to go and buy their own currency. In return, they buy dollar and bring it back to Nigeria and sell in high value. So, to be honest to you, I am in support especially on this fight against corruption. Yes, it has been an ongoing situation, or even before probably I was born. Even the Britain, who colonized us, they messed the country up. They have been part of the problem of our dear nation. So the corruption that we are seeing today, that name corruption, I was born in the village. I never knew what is called corruption. It's an English name. So defrauding to manipulate, to orchestrate, to deceive people. In return, you take everything, at the end of the day, you give nothing back. Look, this fight against corruption is something that all of us collectively, all Nigerians, we must rise up. That is why I'm in support of all these protests, but we must be focused. Let us not miss the 8 ball. Let us not miss the focus, the real issue that is compounding, that is the bond of contention that is facing our dear nation. We must deal with that issue. That issue is corruption. If you take corruption out of the way...
Again, if you just allow me, the point I'm trying to make is that if after this administration corruption still thrives even more than it is right now, what then can we say of our fight against corruption as a people?
Yes, there's corruption. Yesterday, today, and even tomorrow. There's corruption going on as of today. Go to NNPC, you see corruption. Go to NPA, you see corruption. Go to everywhere, every sector, you will see corruption. Even the civil servant. You can't say politicians are the ones that are corrupt. No. Civil servant, they are probably the worst. Corruption is not only about stealing or taking people's money. No. When you are given an opportunity to work, to serve your country, you go to office, you spend 2 hours, you go back home. At the end of the month, you are expecting to get salary without contributing anything to your dear nation. That means you are not committed to the country that you say you are from. So corruption is in every sector. It's still ongoing. If you ask me, NNPC as of today have not been able to say to Nigeria, this is the quantity of crude that is leaving the soil. How can that be? They will blame the militants. They use the militants as a soft landing. They say that it's because of the partner organization. That's what they use. But the real avenger are the multinational company. The real avenger are the multinational company. How can you expect few young men that are taking, crude, refining those little crude oil? You are telling me that is how we lost billions when it has already been taken through the back door to global destination. How did all this, crude that is in a global destination, how did they get there? Who took them there? Is it the militants? I don't think so. The cabals. I have said this over and over again. Tomorrow, if you hear, just to blackmail National Assembly, they wanted to collect millions. I'm happy that about Hembe, they're talking about 5 million naira. They probably be talking about $5 million that we requested for money that they didn't give. That's why we are probing them. You'll be hearing that tomorrow. Why? Because they want to divert attention to discredit National Assembly. National Assembly is not a trial, for God's sake. We don't award contract at the National Assembly. We are only elected to do our oversight function. Look, that's to move motion, to sponsor bill, to do what is important, to bring federal government present to the doorstep of our various constituency. 360 members, 109 senators. Guess what? We are more closer to our people. It is our constitutional right to represent our people, to be responsible, to be accountable to them, because they elected us to serve them. If we cannot serve the people, then we are not what? Being the House of Representatives.
If I may come in here, you've mentioned the National Assembly several times here, and yes, the members of the National Assembly represent Nigerians, but many times Nigerians ask to see what goes on behind the workings of the National Assembly. They are not given access. They don't even have trust for the members of the National Assembly because they feel that the National Assembly members are taking things away from them, the people they represent. And you keep saying you're asking Nigerians to support the National Assembly members in the fight against corruption. That's one side. The other side say we need to deal with this corruption. How do we deal with it when everywhere you go to,